Hey guys! Alright, so we are starting chapter 14, and that's exponents and scientific notation. And so today we're doing 14.1, which is exponents, and our learning goal, I can use exponents to write and evaluate expressions. So for your warm-up, I want you to go and fill out that Google form to tell me how you did on your test, and then let's get started. So there's a couple of things we need to know before jumping into exponents. We need to know some vocab. So the first one would be power. When I say power, we're talking about math terms. So a power is how many times a number is being multiplied. This is being multiplied by itself. So if I have 2 to the power of 3, then it's being multiplied 3 times. Not times 3, but 2 times 2 times 2. Then we have the base. It tells us what number is being multiplied. So, for instance, again, if I use 2 to the third power, 2 is our base. Then we have the exponent. The exponent is the number times the base is being multiplied. So, for instance, again, if I use 2 to the third power, the 3 is my exponent. So sometimes it gets a little confusing, like what's a power and what's a base, or what's a power and what's an exponent. So the way to remember it is, again, that 2 to the third. The 2 is our base. Our 3 is our exponent. And the whole thing together is our power. So it's 2 to the third power. Those both have to go together. So a power includes the base and the exponent, while the exponent is just telling us, well, how many times are we multiplying it? While the power tells us what number and how many times it's being multiplied. All right, so let's use that vocab and try solving some problems. So first we're going to write exponents using exponents. So instead of having to write -7 over and over and over again times itself, we use exponents. Just like when we add over and over and over again the same number, we multiply. So it's very similar. So all you do is, if they're the exact same, which we have -7 3 times, then we have -7, which we need to put in parentheses, to the third power, because there's 1, 2, 3 -7s. You can't just write it as -7 to the third. Whenever there's a negative involved, we always include the negative. All right, so then B, we have pi being multiplied 2 times, so we have pi to the second, and then times r, and we have r 1, 2, 3 times, so r to the third. So it doesn't just have to be numbers, it can be variables, it can be anything that's being multiplied by itself over and over again. So now I want you to try 1 and 2, and then you will check your answers with mine. So we get 1/4 to the 5th power. Whenever you have fractions, you also need to put those in parentheses. It's the proper way of writing it. And then we have 3/10 to the 4th power times x to the 2nd power, or x squared. Also with decimals, you put those in parentheses too, just as proper notation. All right, so now we're going to start evaluating expressions. So what we're doing is solving. -2 to the 4th power, what that means is we have -2 times -2 times -2 times -2. And so when we when we solve this, -2 times -2 is 4. And -2 times -2 is 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. So -2 to the 4th power is 16. For the next example, we have -2 to the 4th power. that means is this negative is actually on the outside. So since there's no parentheses, like over here, the negative was in parentheses, so we put the negative in each of our factors. In this one, what this means is we have negative, and then 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, so 2 4 times. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So we have 16, and then times negative, which means that our answer is negative 16. And that's why it's really important to have those parentheses, because if you don't have those parentheses, then it could completely change our answer. 16 and negative 16 are not the same. So I want you guys to practice by doing 3 through 6, and then you are going to check your answers with mine. So for number 3, it's just 12 times 12, which is 144. For number 4, we have negative 2 to the 6th power, and that's the negative is on the inside of the parentheses, so we're going to multiply that negative 6 times as well. So we get positive 64. Negative, and then 5 to the 4th power is negative times 5 4 times, and so that gives us negative 625. And then for number 6, we have negative 1/6 to the 3rd power, so that's negative 1/6 times itself 3 times, and that gives us, oops, sorry, that should be over 1. Mess up, over 1. So this is negative 1, struggling. Negative 1 over 216. All right, so now we're going to use order of operations to solve using exponents. So order of operations as PEMDAS, so we have parentheses, we have exponents, we have multiplication, then we have division. This is D in PEMDAS, struggling again. A, which is addition, and then subtraction, which is obviously, we know what that is. So we have to do this in this order. So work our way down. So first we need to look for parentheses. There aren't any. So then we're going to do exponents. So we just write down what we can't use yet, and then we're going to do 3 to the 4th. I am going to teach you how to do this on a calculator. So on a calculator, when you open your calculator, it normally is in standard. You're going to need to switch it over to scientific, and then you type 3, and then you'll hit this little x to the y, not 33, whoa. And then you'll type in the number, so 4. So we get 81. So times 81. Then we're going to do the multiplication. So now we have to do this part here. And so we're going to do 2 times 81 times 2. And we get 162 plus 3. And now we have 165. So exponents first. So we're going to do these two first. So we have 3 times 3 times 3, so 7, minus, and that minus comes down because it's not in the parentheses with the 8. So the 8 is being multiplied by itself twice. So that is 64 divided by 2. And then now we're going to do negative 64 divided by 2. And we get negative 32. Bring down your 27. And that gives us negative 5. So that's my answer. All right, so now we have parentheses, but there's still an exponent inside the parentheses, so you still can't do anything in here until we address this exponent. So it's not in parentheses, so it's just a negative. So it's negative and then 10 times 10, which is 100, plus 70. And then that times negative 3. So negative 100 plus 70 is negative 30 times 3. -3, which gives us a positive 90. All right, so you're going to try these on your own, and then you're going to check your answers with mine. All right, so exponent first, so that turns into a -32. So we have 9 minus 32 times 1/2. So now we're going to do half of 32, which is -16. And so we have 9 minus 16 is -7. For number 8, we have the absolute value of -3 to the third power divided by 27. And so the negative is not in a parenthesis, so our answer will be negative. So we have negative and then 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. So -27 divided by 27 is -1, but we're taking the absolute value of that, so we want the positive version. So we're just going to have an answer of 1. For number 9, we need to do the parentheses first, and so in the parentheses we have an exponent, and so negative and then 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. So we have 7 times 4 minus 64, and then divided by 6. So we actually have 28 minus 64, which is -36, divided by 6 is -6. So our answer is -6. All right, so now the modeling in real life. So an annual profit, P, in thousands of dollars earned by a technology company, X, years after opening is represented in the equation P equals 1/10 times x to the third power plus 3. How much more profit is earned in years 5 than in year 4? So here's what we're going to do. So for year 4, we are going to put a 4 where that x is because that is our years. X represents years. So we have P equals 1/10 times 4 to the third power plus 3. So 4 to the third power, so 4 to the third power is 64. So we have 64 times 1/10 plus 3. So 64 times 1/10 is 6.4 plus 3 gives us 9.4. So then now let's check for year 5. So we have P equals 1/10 times 5 to the third power plus 3. So 5 to the third power, so 5 to the third power is 125 times 1/10 plus 3. Now let's do this. So times 1/10, which is 12.5 plus 3, and we get 15.5. It wants to know the difference between those, so we have to subtract. So we're going to do 15.5 minus 9.4, and we get 6.1. But this was in thousands. So really, we need to multiply this by 1,000. And we get $6,100. So that is the difference in a year. So this company made 6,100 or 6,100 more dollars in year 5 than they did in year 4. All right, so now you need to go to Big Ideas and you are going to complete the homework assignment for 14.1. Email me if you have any questions.